is Luis Moros, my candidate number is 0814, and my US Center is US 675. Today, I'll address the question to what extent should the government help the people in poverty? I'll be focusing on sociological, cultural, and educational perspective. The problem. There are different problems about poverty. First off, let's define what poverty is. Poverty refers to not having enough material possessions or income for a person needs. Poverty may include economic and political elements. Absolute poverty is a complete lack of the means to make basic personal needs, such as food, clothing, and shelter. The problems of this topic are the following. For example, in the United States, the government has been nowadays affecting the people in poverty having over 50% of the population economical needs. In contrast, countries such as Cuba and Venezuela have been an example about lack of efficacy because the population are used to wait for the government in order to receive help, creating anarchy and lack of power over the world. And last but not least, the United States is considered the third country with the poorest rate in the world. The solution. In this slide, we as a group came up with 3 solutions, one globally, one locally, and one that all as a society have to do in order to prevent poverty. The worldwide solution is providing food and free education. Locally, establishing laws about how financial aid could be acquired by the low class, and the society will prevent poverty or solving problems of lack of information. These solutions overall could help the society to reduce poverty in a cultural, sociological, and educational perspective. In this picture, we can see how the government of the United States has been improving in different programs such as Medicaid, housing assistance, earning income taxes, and assisting the ones in need. Culture. All those who make less than the federal government official poverty rate are declared in poverty, which for a family of 4 is about 25,700. People are working a minimum wage, even holding down multiple jobs. As a consequence, millions of families everywhere from our cities to rural communities are suffering about poverty. Poverty doesn't strike all demographics equally. For example, in 2018, 10.6% of men and 12.9% of women live in Poverty USA. Poverty USA is a non-profit organization for people with lack of resources, serving as households throughout all the country. Along the same lines, the poverty rate for married couples in 2018 was only 4.7%, but the poverty rate for single-parent families with no wife, it was 12.7%, and for families with no husband, it was 24.9%. At the same year, we discovered that the poverty rate for people living with a disability was 25.7%. When we say 25.7%, we're talking about nearly 4 million people living with a disability and in poverty as well. In this picture, according to 2018 US Census data in the United States, the highest poverty rate by race is found among the Native Americans, which is 25.4. The second one will be the Black Americans, around 20.8. The third one, Hispanic, with 17.6. And the last 2, they are White Americans and Asian Americans with 10.1%. Social. Socially, 5.2% of the population, or 17 million people, live in deep poverty, with incomes below 50% of their poverty thresholds. And 29% of the population, we're talking about 93 million people, live close to poverty, with incomes less than 2 times that of their poverty thresholds. However, the real median income for family households increased by 1.2%, and for non-family households by 2%. In 2018, the median income stayed at the same level as 2%, and for non-median, it stays in 3%, it increased a little bit. In the picture, we can see that is reflected how an individual lives when they are unemployed. This picture defines around 12.9 of the women and around 10.6 of the men that is living in the United States without a job, being this a critical number. Education. The effects of poverty on children is complicated and causes challenges for children and their families. Although the economy of the United States is showing improvement, poverty remains a serious issue in the country. In spite of being one of the most developed nations on the planet, the United States has probably the most elevated rate of youth poverty internationally. Children conceived in neediness face various weaknesses, and most clearly in education. Poverty reduces a child's readiness for school because it leads to poor physical health. diminishes a child's ability to concentrate and remember information and reduces attentiveness, curiosity, and motivation. One of the most serious impacts is that children feel this distance from society and with hardships on account of their financial status and dread the outcomes of their neediness, suffer sense of weaknesses, and resent society's failure to help in their battles. In this picture, this graph reflects how poverty has been affecting education in high school students and the citizens of the United States. In other words, this graph is reflecting that overall, 5% of the people with a bachelor's degree or higher doesn't have a high school diploma. Also, 10% for people with some college but not degree, 14 people for people with a high school diploma and not college, and also, most importantly, 29% for people with no high school diploma. One of the steps we have been taking locally is that the state of California, we can see over here, established a law to prevent and combat homelessness. Also, states such as Alaska, Florida, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, New Jersey, and Ohio increased the minimum wage based on the cost of living. Lastly, in October 2019, also Medicaid helped pay for the health care of more than 71 million families that were in low income. Steps we have taken globally. Worldwide, the world has been trying to overcome global poverty, and some of the actions several countries have been taking are for example, Venezuela, that has started a non-profit foundation where the government used to give a box full of food supplies to the ones that are in poor and living in poverty. On the other hand, we have the United Nations that acts as a focal point and a primary point for the countries and undertakes activities that assist and facilitate governments in more effective implementations of the commitments and policies adopted. Also, the World Bank preliminary forecast states that extreme poverty has declined to 8.6% in 2018. Around 72 countries increased their minimum wage in order to reduce global poverty. The steps we need to take. Absolutely, the best pathway out of poverty is a well-paying job. To get back to employment levels, we must create around 5 million new jobs, raising the minimum wage to $10.10 per hour will lift more than 4 million Americans out of poverty. In consequence, the lack of high-quality childcare serves as a major barrier to reaching the middle class. In fact, 1 year of childcare costs more than 1 year of tuition at most states' 4-year public colleges. Also, expanding Medicaid will mean more than just access to healthcare. It will not limit any more households from paying rent or bringing food to their house. And these are my sources. Thank you for watching.